is up, YouTube? Welcome back. This is Corey over at Ronin Motors. I just wanted to show you a little project that we're kind of starting today. There's the logo, the brand, the regime, and here's what we're dealing with. Let me shut this bay door so we can actually see what's going on. This is a customer's car. It is a 1995, it's up on the lift, by the way. It's a 1995 OBD1 Acura Integra RS. It currently has a D16 Y8 VTEC single cam swap in it. A customer brought it, actually drove it 4 hours away to bring it up, and he wants to go B swap. So we are actually gonna do it right. It's missing hardware on the shifter, the linkage, no castle nuts, ball joints blown out. Whoever swapped it or did it before didn't do a very good job. You can see there's zip ties everywhere, or there's, bolts that are way too long or don't fit, or, this exhaust system that on here was kind of jankety, but that doesn't matter. We're gonna go through and fix all this crap because it was not done very well. And what we are going to put in it, however, is a JDM B20. We'll get this thing cleaned up, get a quality swap into it with an LS trans. We're gonna tune it. We're gonna put an Exedy Stage 1 clutch and pressure plate into it, a Luck flywheel. I've got a couple other little surprises that I'm gonna throw in for them. I'm gonna put some billet motor mounts in it, upgrade the shifter bushings, all new axles, all new fluids. We're gonna do a timing belt job on the JDM B20. We're gonna do, dang, that glow is pretty ridiculous, isn't it? Everything seems to be messing with me today. Not in the best of moods, but we are going to do a timing belt job on this JDM engine. We're gonna do the water pump, the timing belt. We're gonna do a full maintenance schedule on it, new cap and rotor, new plugs, new exhaust manifold gasket, new intake manifold gasket, clean everything up the way that it should be, and put an LS intake manifold on it. We're gonna go OBD1 on this. So, to go OBD1 on the LS manifold, we're gonna swap out the IAT, the intake, air temperature. We're gonna do the distributor to OBD1 and the alternator to OBD1, which on these JDM engines is pretty simple and easy since they come with the pigtails already on them. You just rewire your old one. So we can actually keep an OBD2 alternator. We'll just wire it to one. We're about to pull this swap out now, kind of see where we're at. I know that it should have the factory RS engine harness on this, so hopefully we can salvage that. I know this thing has a lot of wiring issues as well too, so we're gonna get this out and sell this swap whole. We just did a compression test on it. It was all 150 PSI across the board, but as you can tell, there's, axles that are ripped and tossing grease everywhere. So we need to clean up this engine bay and we'll get going from there. In fact, if I can give you guys a light so you can actually see what's going on. As you can see, that's not good. It's been tossing grease and gunk everywhere. I know the owner was trying to sell this swap for a decent amount of money, but after looking at this, I'm a little hesitant into knowing what this thing is worth. It's a little dirty. It's got some issues. We got mounts that are who knows where. We've got a lot of stuff to hunt down and locate and find and part out. You can see the axles there are ripped. So they've got some wiring back there that's not done correctly. Just a wire just hanging down, of course. Oh, look at that. That's probably an oil pressure sensor or a NOx sensor that's completely just not wired up. I'd be willing to bet that that wire that's hanging isn't even hooked up to anything. Let's see real quick, huh? See if I can get this thing to attach. Oh, no, it actually is. That is the oil pressure system, of course, great. That is super, oh, because this is actually an OBD2 engine, so that knock sensor up there is probably for that. But look at the breather system, it's got gunk all thrown on it. So these axles are shit. Those ball joints are garbage. And yeah, we'll just go through, get this thing, start getting this thing pulled. You guys can get a peep at the exhaust. They look like they kind of straight piped it. The resonator. But the customer doesn't like how far it sticks out the back. Not a whole lot we can do with that at the moment. It's not what we're gonna focus on. But yeah, just wanted to kind of check in with you guys and show you where we're at on the progress. There's the P28 ECU that we're gonna be chipping. We wanted to put a P28 OBD1 in it in case later on the customer wants to go B20 VTEC. We're gonna have the tune made by Courtney Green. His son, Tyler's gonna chip it. We got a, of course, Ronin Motors supplying the engine, the transmission. We're getting the clutch, the flywheel and all that stuff directly from Exedy. AutoZone axles, OEM fluids and belts. And yeah, that's where we're at now. I'll check in with you guys here in a little bit when we make a little bit of progress. All right, so here it is back on the ground. We got everything disconnected, all the fluids out of it. It's sitting on a couple of dollies here on the ground. This is the one nice thing about having a lift. Now we can see, just go through, kind of double check everything, make sure everything is nice and free. And we'll lift the body off this damn thing. And it's one step closer to becoming a real Integra all over again. Oh, we're dumping some coolant out, of course. Little things like that, always fun. I know the owner wanted to add power steering back, so we're gonna go ahead and do that. We're gonna swap it. Oh, we got so much cleaning to do and upgrading. I know the owner is really into sound systems and stuff. The car has a really, oh great. So the car has a really great sound system in it and a backup camera and navigation and all that cool stuff. I know the owner's really into sound systems. Maybe not like the most mechanically inclined dude. I know that he, and just so you guys know, a lot of this work isn't our customer's work. I don't want him to feel like we're bashing on him. He got the car this way. So he's been going through a lot just to clean it all up and get it to where it needs to be. But yeah, here we go. It's up. Let's see if we can lift this freaking body up out of the way. All right, see you guys in a second. It's out. We just have a regular Integra to mess with. What is up, YouTube? All right, so we're back. It's the day after that first segment of the video. So we pulled out the LS trans and started getting it cleaned. The freaking sun and lights throw off the sensors in this damn iPhone. So there is the LS trans all cleaned up. This is the B20 we're gonna use. We got the harness all out. We're gonna go through it. It might look like it needs a little bit of love. There's the old D16Y8 swap. We finally got our tools cleaned up and organized, which is key. We made kind of a mess, so I wanted to take a little bit of time today and just get cleaned up, clean up the spill trays and everything else. And now we rolled the shell out and we are going to degrease the engine bay and get it all cleaned up. We just went to the dealership today and picked up the timing belt, the water pump, the MTF, the bolts for the clutch, the flywheel, the pressure plate, all that stuff. And that was like $300, so that's never fun. But, you know, the customer knew that this car needed a lot of hardware, so it was kind of expected. We got a lot of parts coming in the next couple of days. Innovative motor mounts, the Exedy Clutch, Luck flywheel, just a lot of random stuff that this thing really kind of needed, but we're gonna get it cleaned up and looking better. As you can tell, to clean up the engine bay, we're just gonna use some of the Vato engine degreaser. This stuff actually works really well to clean up engines and transmissions. And then this stuff right here, this is Zapped industrial cleaner and degreaser. You can pick this up at Home Depot. I forget how much it is. I think it's probably 10, 12 bucks for a gallon of this stuff, but you can dilute it and make a ton of it. And so you put it in there and you water it down. This stuff is amazing. If you put this in just like a water bottle straight, it'll eat through a water bottle in a couple of days. So, all right, well, let's get this all prepped. And you guys can see before, actually I kind of wetted it down, so it probably looks a little bit cleaner than it really is. But you can see all the stuff through there, all the grease that the axles through, right in through there. All that shit needs to come out. So we're gonna scrub it down. We're just gonna use that, a degreaser, a brush, and a hose, and just a little bit of time, you know, put on some good music, hang out, get this shit done. All right, see you guys. All right, so we got the engine bay. We soaked it, scrubbed it, soaked it again, scrubbed it, soaked it again. We went through a whole can of that Vato degreaser, and then obviously some of the Zapped. It's still soaking right now for the last little run. We pulled the JDM engine out, and we got it soaking for a second now too. I'm gonna go through, finish cleaning it all up all the way, because we still got to tear this one down. Replace the intake manifold with an LS intake manifold. Get the alternator checked at AutoZone. Swap out the crank pulley bolt, do the timing belt and the water pump. Move over all this stuff that we're gonna need to obviously stick it in the US engine, or the US car. So we're gonna get it all cleaned up, sparkling, looking nice, so it matches the trans and the engine bay when we're done. But yeah, you can tell it obviously made the difference. It's still soaking right now. A lot of little grease stuff that was on there before, it's pretty much gone now. We scrubbed it the best we could. We don't want to put too much time into it. The customer's paying us, so we don't want to, you know, loaf on the clock. But overall, everything looks pretty good, and then we'll do a final detail as well too when we're done with the install. But for right now, this suits our purposes pretty well. Let's get all this stuff rinsed off. Right. So the engine is done drying. We're gonna start tearing it down so we can do the water pump and timing belt service on it. We'll take the intake manifold off so we can put it in an Integra. These B20 intake manifolds stick way up, so you can't really close the hood or anything. You can see it's called a giraffe intake manifold. So we just took it all off in one unit. We're gonna clean up where the gasket goes, and we're gonna put this LS unit on there. The injectors, fuel rail, throttle body, all the sensors on it. Pretty much plug and play. We just gotta clean up the mating surfaces on both, use a new gasket, slap it together, call it a day, hook up the hoses, and then we can move on to the timing belt service. It should go pretty easy and painless. All right, so we started tearing down this JDM engine. The rest of the parts should be here today. I got the clutch kit coming in, all the rest of the bolts just came in. So we're gonna go ahead and take the exhaust manifold off of this thing, prep a JDM engine. I don't know how many of you before have bought a JDM engine, but that's kind of what Ronin Motors does. Is we're a JDM engine importer, exporter. We sell to dealerships, shops, mechanics, enthusiasts. I'm an enthusiast. And so, yeah. So typically when you get one of these engines from Japan, it's always a great idea to take the valve cover off and take a look at it and see what kind of condition it's in. The more metallic or more aluminum that they look inside, the better. Some of them, they start to get kind of brown and aged like that, which is normal, but that's kind of indicative of either high miles, longer oil changes, or heat. So you kind of know what you're dealing with there. What we're doing with this one, I do with every JDM engine that I install. I do a timing belt, a water pump, and I inspect the oil pump. The oil pump is a mechanical pump, so they wear a little bit differently. And also the JDM version doesn't have a crank sensor allotment. So you can bypass that, or you can put on a USDM one. It's not a big deal. So we already went ahead and got the water pump and timing belt and all that stuff, and I'll actually show you. It's sitting here in my office waiting to be put on. So This is typically what I like to do. We got, OEM water pump, OEM timing belt. People like to cheap out and get other stuff. These aren't that expensive. It might be $150 for both. That might seem like it, expensive, but just the labor, the fluids, the engine, if something else, you put something else on there that's cheap, it may not last or it can cause problems. You can overheat it, warp the head. This thing can snap and take out the whole engine. And these are tried and true. There's a lot of people out there making, 700 horsepower with OEM timing belts. OEM filters, they're cheap and they work good. They're a good quality metal. They don't expand. They have a good valve in them. It's quality. They're $5. Why not? Same thing with the crush washer. OEM manual transmission fluid. When it comes to Honda automatic transmissions, always use OEM fluid. And when it comes to manuals, if you're not using this, then I'm assuming you're using Synchro Mesh. I've used both. I like both. But I think it's $12, $10 to fill up a transmission with OEM MTF. So why would you not do it? It's so cheap and it works. It's verified. People know how it goes. Okay, here we go. These are the bolts that I need. This is another one that, man, if you can source these bolts anywhere else, those are the bolts for the flywheel. Those are the bolts for the pressure plate. And these are actually the bolts for the half shaft. But man, if you can get these bolts anywhere else other than the dealership, I suggest it. That's probably, that's 15 bolts, and that's like $100 right there, easily. It stinks, it's $70 just in bolts to mount the clutch and flywheel. But the JDM versions you get are normally automatic. So you can't reuse these. See how it says AT there? Don't reuse those. You're gonna have problems. You can see it already has an OEM filter on that. We're gonna pull that out, look inside of it. But yeah, so here we are. We pulled off the timing covers. We pulled off the valve cover. We looked inside of it. It looks fantastic. And we just put the engine on TDC. As you can tell, we're gonna go ahead and lock the cams, and then I will loosen the tensioner, take off the timing belt, we'll replace the water pump, inspect it, go through all of that, look at the tensioner, figure out if that needs to be replaced, and then get it all cleaned up. All right, I'll see you guys here in a bit. All right. So we pulled out the factory manual. I just wanted to show you guys something. So when you're doing your JDM engine or whatever engine, there's like 5 bolts holding in the water pump. You take that out, loosen up the tensioner, 180 degrees, pull off the old belt, lock the cams into TDC. You put your new belt on, here, exhaust camshaft last, put it on, make sure everything's all lined up, and then you'll rotate it, obviously counterclockwise, it's a Honda, 1, 2, 3 teeth to there. Then you'll tighten the tensioner, and then you'll rotate the engine 5 or 6 times and verify that everything is still at TDC. And we just did that, so we are good to go. Now it's time to put this all back together, put all the timing covers back on. We're gonna put a different T-bracket, or the 2-post, because these JDM ones, sometimes they come with this one that makes the engine sit lower. So we're gonna go with a 3-bolt, because we have some innovative mounts coming in that work for that. And we'll pull off that exhaust manifold, put the right power steering pump on it, and find a alternator down there somewhere that we feel is good and that will work. Awesome. All right, so we got the clutch kit in, and we got to pull out the new flywheel bolts. So we're gonna clean up the flywheel. We already installed the pilot bearing from the back. Use something real flat and heavy to knock it all in. You'll know when it goes in. And here is the Exedy Clutch. Pressure plate bolts. There's the pressure plate. Exedy, Japan, yum yum. Here is the clutch. You can see on the clutch where it'll say what side goes to what. So it should be fairly straightforward, understandable. You'll know what side goes to where, because it's not like it's going to go in there like so. So yeah, it'll be easy. We'll get that all cleaned up. Make sure you read the instructions and even pull out a factory manual to help you go through and assemble everything so you don't forget anything or do it wrong. We're going to clean up this area here, all up under here, make sure there's no grease or anything that can kick back onto the clutch or flywheel and cause slipping. Inspect this rear main seal area. Now's the time to replace it. It's cheap, it's accessible, it's here. So we'll look at that and see where we need to go. Use plenty of brake cleaner, clean everything up, clean all the surfaces. And yeah, let's get started. All right, so we're gonna keep everything clean. Like I said, lots of brake cleaner, lots of nice clean shop towels. Have a nice clean surface. I used the box to set everything on so it's not touching the dirty floor. Here's the new bolts, and you're gonna be using blue Loctite on the bolts, and you're just gonna thread them in by hand at first. Just thread them all the way in. We'll torque them here in a little bit. All right, a little out of breath, I'm fat. So I got it together. We got the clutch in, the flywheel, pressure plate bolt, and now as you can see, the trans is bolted together. Doing it by yourself, not always fun. But, so now we've got a B20 with an LS intake manifold, LS transmission, Exedy stage 1 clutch, Luck flywheel, and we got a OEM alternator on there. We've got a GSR 2-post mount. You'll see why a little bit later. But yeah, now we can just clean this thing up a little bit, and it's almost good to go. We're getting closer. This thing's about to have an engine in it. All right. All right, take care, guys. Boom. Here we go, guys. Trans is on. I slapped the harness on. I used, this is a B20 again, so I used a B18 LS or RS power steering bracket with a GSR LS power steering pump. I'm actually still using the JDM B20 crank pulley. It's a GSR B series alternator, GSR harness, which is good because we're actually going to be running a chipped P28 in this car. So later on, when the customer wants to upgrade to a VTEC head, he can bring it back. We've already got VTEC wired in. It's hidden away. It's not going to cause a problem, but like I said, we already got the harness already on. Looks like somebody's already made some kind of sketchy splices. We might clean up some of that stuff. Same thing with some of this. Doesn't really look the best, so we'll see. Got the starter and everything in, but yeah, here it is. Sent a picture to the customer. It's just about ready to drop in. We're just waiting on the mounts and to pick a header, and I think we will be good. All right, see you guys soon. All right, YouTube, I got bored since we got, putting the rest of that together. Just put this thing on the lift, threw the engine in real quick, set it in, started hooking up stuff. Again, we're still waiting on the motor mount, so there's not a whole lot I can do at the moment, but I thought you guys might want to see that. Power steering is back, no more junky B series, and then back to a fun B20 with an LS. The ECU just got done today. We have a B20 base mat put on it with adjustable 2-step shift light, and it's on a P28 too, so I guess when the customer does want to go B20 VTEC or whatever else, it's pretty much drop and play and go. So yeah, it's been pretty fun. We're almost done. We're almost there, so hopefully we can make it happen and all goes well. Just wanted to check in, let you guys see the progress. Alright, it seems to be idling happy. I'm gonna try to get it all back together. Still gotta bleed the clutch, figure out intake solution. You might need a new throttle cable. I think they swapped out that one, and a new linkage or bracket right there to make all this work a little bit better. But for now, it seems to be happy enough. It's running. We'll keep an eye on it, let it run for a little while, burp the coolant system, get it all ready for a test drive. All right, YouTube, here we go. It's all done. It's in. It's cleaned up as much as we possibly could. Obviously, we were on still a pretty tight budget. We're still waiting on these two nuts and the bolt right there coming from Honda. They show up tomorrow, but power steering is in. It's working. Header's hooked up. We used a cheap kind of no-name intake that we had laying around. We had to figure out what we were going to do with this fuel pipe. It's a little ghetto, but we made it work as best we could. And as far as everything else, we kind of just did the best we could with what we had to work with the customer's budget. It's all back together. We had to swap out, ended up using a different throttle cable because that one that was sitting there is probably some weird D-series one. Replaced whatever brackets that we could find that were missing. Tried to clean up whatever wiring we could. Anything else that was sitting around. The radiator in, we ended up going with the full core. Added a reservoir to it. Everything seems to be pretty happy so far. We got a tuned P28 from Courtney Green. And his son Tyler actually did it all. Great tune, great two-step. It runs happy and healthy. No issues. Sounds good, feels great. We drove it. We don't really want to beat on it too much because the clutch, flywheel, and all that stuff is new. But so far, no real complaints. Everything is, working as it should. I think the customer's going to be really happy. It's way better than what he had in there before. You can even tell just how much cleaner it is now. And there was no sparkle before. It's obviously going to be a little bit more rattle than I think there was before, but he's just going to have to deal with that. And overall, it's happy and healthy. It sounds good, looks good. But yeah, there you guys go. JDM B20 low comp LS transmission, Exedy Clutch, flywheel, pressure plate, innovative billet motor mounts all around, a tuned chip P28. This has been a full OBD2 swap into an OBD1 car, all plug and play. Used OEM stuff where we can, eBay, no-name headers, 4-to-1. And yeah, LS intake manifold. We calibrated the new TPS sensor. We bypassed all of the IACD stuff. Cleaned up the coolant routing in the back. It's nice and simple. It's bare bones. And it rips. It runs real good. All right, bye. Thank you guys for watching. Sorry it took so long to get it all back together. We're actually going to swap out this valve cover. It looks like it has like a hole in it and it's chipped. I just wanted to have one there. But yeah, it's good to go. See you guys.